Since 1970, Jerry Ayers has been creating some of the most unique and memorable pumpkins ever seen. Jerry's half-moon technique and his eye for the elegant have made his designer pumpkins sought after far and wide. In 1994, Jerry went on live television and established a world record for carving a designer pumpkin in 1 minute 56 seconds. But being the fastest wasn't Jerry's goal. Jerry Ayers wants anyone who enjoys the beauty of a designer pumpkin to be able to create their very own with a few easy-to-remember hints from a master. So during the next few minutes, Jerry will show you how to select, prepare, carve, and present some of the most fantastic pumpkins you've ever seen. So if you're all ready, let's go face-to-face with Jerry's designer pumpkins.
Good morning, I'm Jerry Ayers. I'm really not as fast as you've just seen. However, I do hold the world's record of 1 minute and 56 seconds. And today I don't really want to show you how to carve fast, but I want to show you how you can have fun carving pumpkins. Before we do that, let's go down to the farm and pick out a pumpkin. Here we are in Central Ohio, and these beautiful pumpkin patches are all over Central Ohio. Matter of fact, all over the Midwest. This is somewhat of a pumpkin carver's dream. When choosing a pumpkin, first thing you look at is color. And this has got excellent color. Size is not important at this point because we're going to talk about quality. Size is a matter of preference. Check the bottom of the pumpkin. Make sure there's no wormholes. Now, a pumpkin's been laying around all summer long, so turn it over, scrape the mud off of it, and make sure that there's no decay or wormholes. Then when you're ready to cut your pumpkin, just cut on both sides of the stem, cut your stem, and there you have an excellent pumpkin. When I bring my pumpkins home from the farm, the first thing I do is wash them with water to get the mud off of them and anything like that. The second thing I do is I use just a little bit of bleach in my water, and I wash them down again. That kills all the insects and the fungus on the pumpkin. That'll help to preserve them and they'll last a lot longer. I want to show you how to clean a pumpkin, but before we do that, I've cut one right in half here so you can see what the inside of a pumpkin looks like. This here is the skin, this is the meat, and this is the pulp. The pulp is connected at the top and at the bottom. Of course, when you cut your top out, you're going to disconnect it at the top. However, this little rascal down here is what we want to get to. This is the hardest part about cleaning a pumpkin. This is going to make it easier understanding what the inside of a pumpkin looks like. Now, when I carve a pumpkin, I use a very delicate knife. But when I'm cleaning a pumpkin, I use a very sharp butcher knife. The reason it's sharp because pumpkins have veins around the top. If you use a dull knife and it gets that vein and then you're pulling on it, that's when it lets go after it's through it and you get cut. So use a sharp knife anytime you're carving a pumpkin. When I start a pumpkin, I choose the side that I want. This side here looks to be one of the best on this pumpkin. I start right here to right, and I cut at about a 45-degree angle, making straight lines all the way around. I try to cut very high on the side that I'm going to carve on because I don't want to take any more room from the face that I need. And all you really need through here is enough room to get your hand down through the pumpkin. You get right here to the end. This is the back side. Make yourself a little diamond. The reason you're doing this will show you where the lid comes on and goes off. This will also allow heat to come up through the pumpkin so that it won't cook it from your candle. You take this off. Remember we were talking about the meat, the pulp? We just broke the top side. So just cut that off right there. Trim your pumpkin up a little bit. Make sure your diamond's there. Then what you do, when you open your pumpkin, take and carve into the meat. Just cut right along that edge there, all the way around, clear back down to the tail end of it. Then I use an old-fashioned ice cream scoop, and I just actually cut the meat all the way down. And this just cuts it right away from the edge, all the way around. Just cut as much of the meat away as you want, because there's still going to be plenty of pumpkin there to carve with. After you've got it all the way around there, break it loose, I go into the bottom and I break it loose at the bottom. You remember where I told you the pulp on the bottom is connected? Well, after you've disconnected all that, break it loose from the bottom, your pumpkin's just about cleaned. Just dump it out into a wastebasket. If you're going to save the seeds, now's the time to do it. But that pumpkin's almost totally clean now. If there's anything left in it, I use another ice cream scoop. And this is grated on the edges. And then I just scrape around the sides of it. And be careful not to hit that top any more than you have to, because the more that you hit your top or any part of the inside of the pumpkin, it just won't last nearly as long. So don't damage it. Normally it just takes a couple minutes to clean a good pumpkin, but you never know what's inside a pumpkin until you've opened it up. Dump the rest of it out. Put your lid back on. You've got your notch right there. And that pumpkin's ready for carving. I polish all my pumpkins with a vegetable oil. I just wipe it off with a soft towel. This gives it a ceramic look and helps preserve your pumpkin. We're now ready to carve the pumpkin. Before we get started here, let me explain a couple of things. One, I use a very sharp knife. I've customized this over the last 20 years. It's 4 inches long, 1/4 inches wide. I do have this knife for sale, but that's not what I'm showing you now. Always keep the top on your pumpkin. This keeps your hands out of it. So when you're ready, go to the center of the pumpkin. We are going to use what is called a half moon method. Carve one portion, just a half moon, right in the center of the pumpkin. Pull it out. Normally it'll come right out. Go to the other side and just carve another half moon, similar to the one you just carved. You can see how this knife will go right around the narrow corners. Then go right over to the right. Normally I make this in one cut, but it's nothing more than a series of 3 half moons. Come all the way around. Keep it about as even as you can with the other side. Go back over here. Just start over again, a little lower. There's your first half moon. There's another half moon. And there's your third half moon. By this time you have your nose. I always start with the center of the pumpkin with the nose first, for the simple reason that that's where the most delicate cuts are. This doesn't slip right out, just cut it out in little pieces. and try not to damage your nose. Now this is the center of your pumpkin, so everything you do from this point will actually design the face. No one really notices when you have a nose, they just notice when you don't. Go over to the right, carve your eye. You're going to carve the pupil out first. This is a very delicate part of the pumpkin. Just take and make a half moon out of that eye. This is where the sharp, narrow knife really helps. If it doesn't come out, just cut through the edge there, recut it. If it doesn't come out just the way you want it, just clean it up a little bit. Another time around will do it. You can always clean it up when you're finished. That's what I do. There's your right eye. Come over on the left, find a similar area to where you made your right eye, and do it again in the opposite direction. As you notice, I do not use a pattern. However, a lot of people like to use a pattern, so if you don't feel comfortable doing it this way, use a felt tip, a pencil, or anything that will wash off of your pumpkin, and then draw your pattern on it. All you have to do is just follow the magic line. Now my book has over 1,500 patterns in it. Clean this pumpkin up a little bit more on the eye. The bigger you make your features, the prettier jack-o'-lantern's going to be. For a simple reason that the light is what makes a jack-o'-lantern. Start on your right eyebrow, whatever eyebrow you've chosen. Got your first line, and then, again, just make another half moon. Eyebrows don't have to be above the eyes. They can be to side or just about any angle that you want to use them. Come back to the other eye, and I use approximately the same area. A lot of people don't, and I've even used various eyebrows. They don't have to match. It's your pumpkin. Make it in any direction you want. Make it as big as you want. Now you have both eyes finished. And you notice they all consist of half moons. And with a thin knife, you can make these delicate cuts. If you use a very meaty pumpkin, you'll need a very sharp knife. The mouth, it really doesn't make any difference. Just put the knife in and carve it any which way you want. If you want to leave a tooth or tonsils or whatever you do, I just stick a knife in it and start carving. And wherever it comes out is where it comes out. You can see how maneuverable this knife is, and it just goes around the corners very, very easy. Try not to remove the center in one piece. Sometimes they will, and sometimes they won't. That one happened to come out in one piece, but they don't always do that. Now you've got all the features except for the accent characters. So go to the side, or either side, and put a half moon. This here is about a 15 to 20 pound pumpkin, but the larger the pumpkin, the more half moons you may want. This will allow the light through so that it will shine as a jack-o'-lantern should. I'm putting 2 on this side because of the size of the pumpkin. Sometimes I even use more. This is a good sized pumpkin for me. Children normally like it a little bit less size so they can carry it away. If it sticks, just clean it out. Again, we'll clean this pumpkin up after we're all finished. Just carve out the excess while you can. Go to the other side. Make another half moon. They don't have to be like the other side. These are strictly accent marked to allow the light through and to give your jack-o'-lantern a lot of brightness. This year the pumpkins were a little bit tough in the fill, and they're carving a little bit hard. And every year they're different. But with a sharp knife, you can carve most any pumpkin. Let's put one down here at the bottom. Now, normally you think, well, that can't be seen, but you'll be surprised after the candle's in it what you can see through these holes. You got a little space right here between the eyes. I normally put some additional accent marks. They're nothing more than a place to put light through and to give your face character. Now, you'll really understand the need of a very small, sharp knife in an area like this. These are delicate cuts. Go to the other side and do the same thing as you did on the other side. Yeah, you can tell when you have a tough pumpkin. This is a little bit tough this year. Basically, that's a finished pumpkin. It doesn't become a jack-o'-lantern until you have lights inside. Okay, let's polish another pumpkin. Let's make a completely different design on this one. Don't forget, you're polishing this pumpkin to bring the luster out of it. You can see the comparison between these two. Go ahead and polish the stem. This also will preserve the pumpkin. Then take a nice soft cloth and wipe the excess off. And we're ready for carving. Okay, now we're going to start just the same place we did before, right in the middle. Only we're going to make a line a little bit longer and bring your half moon down at the bottom. Just a little bit different than what we did before. Then go to the other side. Do the same thing. Start there and just do the same side as you did on the other side. Same markings. There you have your nose. Now before we made the eye with the pupil down. This time we're going to make the eye with the pupil up. And let's extend this eye and make it a little bit longer so we can extend the size of the pumpkin. It'll look a lot longer. Go over to your pupil here, this is a little bit tight, and make a mark across so that these will come out without breaking your pupil out. You just flip right in. So come over on the other side. Let's clean a little bit of this out. This is something you couldn't do without a fine knife. Then just duplicate that eye on this side. And again, extend that eye down. Don't be afraid to carve some of this pumpkin out. You want that light to come through. We want those eyes to be long. That makes the pumpkin look longer. Again, when you're using that close, just cut right through the center here so it pops out easy. Take a look at your eyes. If they're not the same length, just go back and cut a little bit more out of the other one. Even them somewhat up. They don't have to be exact. So now you have a nose in your eyes. On long, narrow pumpkins, I like an eyebrow that will extend the length of the eye. They don't have to be big. They don't even have to be right above the eye. But accent the height on that. Go to the other side, right above the eye. Again, just extend that eyebrow, make it high. Matches pretty good. Clean it out a little bit. When you're carving short holes, it's a little tougher, so just clean them out is whatever you need to do. Now we've got long eyes, short eyebrows. Let's give this pumpkin a couple bags. This will help to extend the length of the pumpkin and will also help to show light through. If your pumpkin's long enough, you can just put more bags even below that. So this is totally up to you, depending on what size mouth you want to put in it. So let's just give it another small bag here. Make the one right below it just a little bit smaller than that one. Doesn't make any difference which side you carve first, and they don't have to be in a line. So now let's go to the mouth, okay? This mouth is going to be a little bit different. I want to put some teeth in it. When you're making teeth, I carve my teeth first. And I like big teeth. If the pumpkin's going to have teeth, then it should have big teeth. I carve all 4 of them. Then I just take my knife. I never make them square, whatever angle they come out. My teeth are in there. So just cut this little portion between the 2 teeth. You can pull it out. You don't need to, but you can. Then go over to this tooth on the outside edge and make your mouth in any direction you want. Now when you're coming back up here, make sure you don't cut into your teeth. It's there, so remember where you did leave your mark. Now don't make the mistake of spending your time cutting your teeth and then knocking them off. So go right beside that tooth and cut down to the bottom of the mouth. And right beside this tooth, if you need to. And there you have teeth. And don't forget, if you want some accents in here, even though you're at the bottom of the pumpkin, allow some light through that. The more light that comes through, the prettier the jack-o'-lantern. The other side, if you don't have room, don't do it. It's your pumpkin, it's your face. These are just some ideas. Now there's a totally different pumpkin. It's got teeth. The eyes are long. The nose is long. The eyebrows are short. We gave it some height. That's what you want to do. Now we have another pumpkin over here, and I pre-carved it. It's a very intricate pumpkin, but I want to go over a couple of things with you. Number one, you notice the long marks. It's going to be a scary pumpkin, so I'm really not carving a nose. I'm basically giving the face a little bit of character. I carved the eyes down, the pupils different, and bring the eyebrows down and bring the marks down. Now, I haven't cut out, I've cut the teeth out, but I haven't really pulled them out yet because these are very tough. I've got fangs in both of these. In order to get them out, I want to make sure that you know you take this out piece by piece, because if you don't, you're going to break off most of the fangs, and these are very, very tough to get out. I've carved a lot of lines here. There's your front one. Again, cut to the bottom line. I don't want this all to come out in too big a piece. You see your fang is showing there. Come over here. Cut another line. Now, if it doesn't want to come out, take whichever piece will come out. You're going to have to work these out. And if that one won't come out, I always carry a spoon in my pocket because you don't want to push in with a knife. And just sort of gently push that in. You can get that out a little bit later. So you can see the mouth is showing. I carved these lines right in here. Again, you can just push them in with a spoon if they don't want to come out. Just do it gently because you're right in some very delicate areas. Then I also carved out some marks on the side just to give a little more character. Now when you're cutting fangs into a pumpkin, I can clean this up here in a minute for you. When you're cutting fangs into a pumpkin, they're very delicate, they're twist and turn. It takes a very sharp and a very delicate knife to cut those angles. So you can just clean your fangs up a little bit and your pumpkin will be finished. That'll give you a little bit different design and a very scary pumpkin. A lot of small kids like them scary. That's what they think Halloween's about. You know, I've had a lot of fun the last couple of days carving out many pumpkins. But you know, I could not have carved as many intricate pumpkins if I hadn't had my knife. I had this special made and designed over the last 20 years. It's just 4 inches long, it's a 1/4 inch wide, rounded on the handles, and it really made pumpkin carving easier and fun. I carved a pumpkin here that's about 4.5 inches high, and I carved it in about 2 minutes just to show you that you could carve a pumpkin no matter what size it is. This scary pumpkin, which I rarely carve, has a lot of very intricate parts. But you know, I don't use patterns, so when I start carving on something like this, I'm really not even sure where all the lines are going to come out at. But you know, although I have 1,500 patterns in my book, I use some things over and over. This eye here is the same as this eye is, only it's upside down. This pumpkin here even has 2 different types of eyes, and it's one of my favorites. Noses are fairly simple, and again, as I told you, you're really not going to miss a nose if it wasn't there, but it fills in those spots where the lights come through and really makes out an intricate pumpkin. There's a variety of noses you can use. This basically is the same as this, only this cut is upside down. Your mouth, you just stick a knife in and whatever comes out is a good mouth. If you want a tooth, leave a tooth. If you want tonsils, leave tonsils. But there's a whole lot of room at the bottom of that pumpkin to carve a mouth. But just remember a few things we went over. One, when you choose a pumpkin, make sure it has a good stem on it. Try to choose a pumpkin that's very meaty and thick. This will allow your pumpkin to last longer. And don't forget to properly wash it, sterilize it, and polish it. Have your pumpkin ready for carving when you're ready to carve. I hope you enjoy pumpkin carving with designer pumpkins as much as I have for the past 20 years. And remember, you can do it too. Happy carving.